How to become the woman everyone wants. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung. In a world full of noise, comparison, and expectations, there is something magnetic about a woman who walks in quiet confidence, deep self-awareness, and soulful grace. This video will unveil the hidden traits rooted in Jungian psychology and spiritual wisdom that make certain women unforgettable, not just desirable. As you listen, reflect on which of these qualities already live within you and which ones are calling you to grow. Let this be a mirror, not a mask. Comment below and share which trait resonated most with your journey. Let's explore this together, here on Spiritual Wisdom. 1. The breaking point is the beginning of individuation. Strong souls don't become radiant by avoiding pain. They become unforgettable by walking through it. There comes a point in every woman's life where she breaks not because she's weak, but because her soul refuses to wear the mask any longer. It might happen after betrayal, when someone she trusted pulls the rug out from under her. It might come through unbearable grief, or a slow, silent burnout that leaves her emotionally empty. Whatever the trigger, the moment she looks into the mirror and no longer recognizes the woman staring back at her, something powerful begins. Carl Jung called this the start of individuation, the psychological death of the false self and the painful birth of the authentic soul. She doesn't want to be perfect anymore. She wants to be whole. That's the secret most people overlook. The woman who captivates hearts and commands respect isn't chasing admiration. She's walking toward wholeness with bleeding feet and steady hands. When the old identity collapses, when she no longer wants to perform or please or fit into anyone's mold, she begins to hear the voice of her own soul again. Jung believed that the path to becoming who you are meant to be always begins in darkness. That collapse you think is breaking you, it's actually the fire that's purifying you. It burns away everything that was never truly yours. The roles, the expectations, the smile you wore to survive. And from those ashes, something deeper rises. This woman becomes magnetic, not because she tries to be, but because her presence now carries the weight of truth. She doesn't need to convince anyone of her worth. She knows who she is, and more importantly, who she is not. That kind of clarity creates gravity. People are drawn to her, not because she gives them what they want, but because she embodies what they've lost in themselves. Courage, authenticity, and depth. This woman doesn't beg for attention. She doesn't chase. She no longer fears solitude because she has already met herself in the silence and found peace there. Jung once said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." She has awakened. And in doing so, she has become sacred. Not because of how she looks, but because of what she survived and what she carries. She holds a quiet power, an emotional intelligence, a spiritual presence that cannot be faked. The world may call her intense, too much, intimidating, but deep down, it's that very intensity that makes her unforgettable. Because while others avoid the fire, she walked through it and emerged not just alive, but whole. Have you ever experienced a moment so painful it cracked your identity wide open? If so, share your story in the comments below. Your journey could inspire someone else to begin theirs. And if you're just now reaching your breaking point, comment, "I am ready to become whole," to affirm the start of your individuation. Let's walk this path of self-reclamation together. 2. Masks, roles, and archetypes are not the real you. Women are born into a world that hands them scripts before they even know how to speak. Be a good girl. Be agreeable. Be soft. Be pleasing. As they grow, the roles only become more defined. Obedient daughter, perfect wife, self-sacrificing mother. These aren't just social expectations. They are deeply embedded archetypes, passed down through generations and absorbed unconsciously. Carl Jung called these collective unconscious patterns. And while they offer structure, they often become cages when mistaken for the truth of one's identity. A woman who over-identifies with any of these roles risks losing the most sacred thing she possesses, her authentic self. She smiles when she wants to scream, nurtures when her own cup is empty, and says yes when her spirit aches to say no. She is rewarded for disappearing into the expectations of others. But beneath the mask, there is a soul-stirring longing not to be adored for her performance, but to be seen for her truth. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And this is what happens to so many women. They confuse adaptation with destiny. They think their pain is a personality trait. They think the exhaustion is normal. They believe that the more they erase themselves, the more lovable they will become. But the woman everyone secretly desires, the one who leaves a spiritual imprint on every room she enters, is not the one who performs the loudest. She is the one who knows herself the deepest. She has stared down her need for validation and chosen authenticity instead. She has removed the layers of roles, masks, and expectations, and underneath them, she has found not weakness, but power. Not chaos, but clarity. Not fear, but fierce presence. She is magnetic not because she's perfect, but because she's real. She doesn't give blindly. She gives with wisdom. She doesn't conform to win love, she expands to meet it. Her boundaries are not walls. They are altars of self-respect. She walks into a room, and you don't just notice her, you feel her. That's because she's not operating from the surface. She's radiating from her spiritual core. And this kind of woman doesn't happen by accident. She is forged in silence, in solitude, in sacred rebellion against the false self. She is made through a process of questioning everything she was told to be, peeling away the inherited scripts, and asking, who am I beneath all this? The answer doesn't come from society, or a relationship, or a title. It comes from within, from the still voice that was buried beneath the noise. When a woman chooses to trust that voice, to rebuild herself from the inside out, she becomes unforgettable, not because she fits into a role, but because she transcends them. That's the woman who changes the world without trying to. That's the woman whose beauty isn't in how she looks, but in the undeniable realness of her being. The world may not always understand her, but it always remembers her. Because when you meet a woman like that, you're not just meeting a person, you're meeting her soul. And in that encounter, something inside of you awakens too. Do you feel called to break free from the masks you were taught to wear? If you do, claim your truth in the comments. I am more than a role. I am my true self. Let this be a space where we honor the journey back to authenticity together. 3. The shadow holds repressed power. Carl Jung believed that the shadow is the part of the psyche that holds everything we suppress, our unspoken rage, hidden desires, unfiltered instincts, and emotional truths. For many women, These qualities have been labeled as inappropriate, dangerous, or unfeminine, so they were pushed down, buried beneath a lifetime of social conditioning. But what's buried doesn't die. It festers, it leaks, and it shows up in the quiet forms of suffering. Depression, anxiety, emotional disconnection, or the haunting sense that something essential has been lost. Jung didn't see these traits as flaws, but as fragmented parts of the soul waiting to be reclaimed. The woman who dares to face her shadow, to sit in the discomfort of her pain, and ask it what it wants, emerges with a power that can't be faked or borrowed. She becomes luminous, not in spite of her darkness, but because of her willingness to befriend it. The world has told women for generations to tone it down. Smile more, want less, don't be so angry, don't feel so much, don't be too intense. But the woman who everyone desires is the one who has stopped apologizing for the fire in her soul. She no longer sees her emotional depth as a liability, but as a compass that guides her. Her wildness is not chaos, it's clarity. Her rage is not destruction, it's a sacred truth. Her shadow is not a weakness, it's a well of strength. She does not hide from what she feels, because she has learned that numbness is not peace, and silence is not healing. She has chosen the harder path, the one that leads inward, and in doing so, she has become whole. There is something unforgettable about a woman who owns herself, not the self she was trained to be, but the one her soul always knew. She doesn't seek approval because she's no longer fragmented. She embodies a rare kind of presence, the kind that makes people pause, not because she's performing, but because she's fully alive. Her words carry weight because they're rooted in truth. Her gaze holds depth because she has seen herself clearly. She no longer lives to impress, but to express. Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And that's exactly what she's done. She has turned inward, made the unconscious conscious, and transformed the parts once called too much into a masterpiece of integrity and grace. This is why she stands out, not because she conforms, but because she has become sovereign, not because she is soft, but because she is whole. Men are drawn to her not simply because of beauty, but because their souls recognize her depth, the kind of depth that cannot be mimicked, only lived. Her energy does not beg for attention, it commands respect. Her soul does not seek validation, it emanates truth. She doesn't try to be desirable, she is desirable because she's real. And realness is magnetic in a world full of performance. She's not here to be rescued, nor to rescue. She's here to reflect truth, to invite wholeness, and to embody the kind of woman that reminds you of your own forgotten fire. Don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom on turning your hidden darkness into a source of unshakable strength. Your shadow is not your enemy. It's your power waiting to be reclaimed. 4. Suffering is the alchemy of transformation. Suffering is not a detour on your path. It is the path itself, the sacred fire through which your soul is refined. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every moment when life breaks, you open is not meant to destroy you, but to reveal who you truly are beneath the layers of performance, protection, and pretense. Carl Jung wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain," because he understood that awakening does not happen in comfort. It happens in the cracks of your soul when the identity you once clung to begins to shatter. When you lose what you thought defined you, your relationship, your role, your reputation. That is when the alchemy begins. Pain becomes the crucible, and you are the raw material. Like lead exposed to fire in the ancient art of transformation, your suffering is not punishment, it is purification. The woman who walks through fire does not come out the same. She doesn't just heal, she evolves. She doesn't return to who she was before. She steps into someone she never imagined she could become wiser, deeper, more radiant than before. She no longer seeks to be liked or validated because she's tasted the truth of who she is when no one else was clapping for her. And in that silence, she met her soul. This is the kind of woman everyone desires, not for superficial beauty, but for the way she makes you feel seen without even trying, the way she listens without judgment, the way she holds space for you while asking for nothing in return. Her power doesn't shout, it hums. Her confidence doesn't boast, it rests. Because it was never built on applause, it was built on ashes. Carl Jung believed that true individuation, the process of becoming whole, requires embracing what has been disowned, rejected, and wounded within. And that includes the pain. The pain is not in the way of your transformation. It is the gateway. But the world doesn't teach us this. It teaches us to numb it, escape it, bypass it with distractions or denial. And yet those who carry real magnetism are the ones who chose to stay, to feel it, to sit in the rawness of it until it taught them something. No book, no sermon, no affirmation could ever teach. They allowed the sorrow to carve them into something softer, yet stronger, open, yet grounded, powerful, yet gentle. This is the quiet revolution of becoming. When you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start realizing, "This happened for me to awaken." Jung's legacy reminds us that the unconscious will never be silenced. It will speak through symptoms, through relationships, through dreams, until we listen. And when we finally do, we begin the journey inward, not to fix ourselves, but to reclaim ourselves. So if you've been through the fire and you're wondering if it meant anything, know this: the gold has always been inside you. The fire simply burned away everything that was never truly yours. If this message speaks to your soul, say it aloud with faith. My suffering is not a curse, it is the fire that transforms me. I embrace it as the path to my highest self. And if you feel the truth in this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep spiritual wisdom. 5. Integration creates unshakable inner power. A truly awakened woman no longer waits to be chosen because she has stepped fully into the sacred responsibility of choosing herself. She no longer lives for validation, applause, or permission. Her worth is no longer negotiated in the mirror of someone else's opinion. Instead, she lives in deep alignment with her spiritual essence, honoring her feelings as sacred, her boundaries as non-negotiable, and her values as her compass. This isn't surface-level confidence. It is a quiet, undeniable power that comes from deep within. Carl Jung called this psychic integration the union of light and shadow, of intuition and logic, of the divine feminine and the inner masculine. This inner marriage creates balance, and from that balance, real authority is born. A woman who has integrated her soul does not need to demand respect. Her very presence evokes it. She doesn't chase, she attracts. Not because she manipulates or controls, but because she radiates wholeness. People feel safe in her energy because she feels safe within herself. There is no part of her she is at war with. Even the parts of her that were once broken, shamed, or exiled, she has sat with them, loved them, and brought them home. Jung's idea of the animus, the masculine energy within every woman, is not about rejecting men or becoming cold and hardened. It's about claiming your own direction, logic, structure, and focus. It means no longer expecting a man or society to rescue you from your fears, your past, or your uncertainty. You become your own anchor. And in doing so, you don't just survive life, you command it with quiet dignity and spiritual poise. When a woman is spiritually integrated, she no longer sees her emotions as weakness. Her intuition becomes intelligence. Her empathy becomes discernment. Her stillness becomes a strategy. Her softness becomes strength. This is a woman who speaks with clarity because her words are rooted in truth, not fear. She walks away when something dishonors her spirit, not because she is arrogant, but because she refuses to betray herself. She trusts her no as deeply as she trusts her yes. She is not addicted to being understood because she finally understands herself. And that understanding is freedom. This level of wholeness doesn't come from a book or a quote. It comes from the work of sitting in silence with your own shadow, of weeping for the girl who once begged for love, of standing back up when you've been abandoned, silenced, or underestimated. It is spiritual fire. It is alchemy. You become a woman who doesn't just survive heartbreak, betrayal, or loss, you transform through it. You take what was meant to destroy you and turn it into sacred power. That is why she is so rare. That is why she is so desired. Not for her beauty, her charm, or her sweetness, but for her energy, her spiritual integration, and her refusal to abandon her soul ever again. Leave your likes and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss empowering content like this. If this message resonates with you, type in the comments, "I choose myself. I am whole, sovereign, and enough." 6. Wholeness awakens spiritual magnetism. When a woman stops performing and starts living in her truth, something extraordinary happens. She becomes magnetic in a way that defies explanation. Not because of her beauty, status, or charm, but because she is rooted in her soul. She no longer exists to be admired, accepted, or desired. She exists to be whole. And in that wholeness, she radiates a quiet spiritual power that cannot be faked. Carl Jung once said, "The soul does not seek perfection. It seeks wholeness." That's what she embodies. She no longer says yes out of fear or no out of guilt. Her boundaries are not walls. They're sacred lines drawn to protect the integrity of who she has become. Her presence is felt before she speaks. And when she does speak, it carries the weight of someone who has faced herself and remained. She no longer diminishes her light to make others comfortable. She doesn't twist herself to fit into roles that shrink her, nor does she perform femininity for applause. Instead, she reclaims space, walks with grounded grace, and chooses herself daily. That self-possession is irresistible to men who are no longer boys. Men who are no longer chasing surface thrills, but are drawn to depth, authenticity, and something sacred. It's not that she's trying to attract, it's that she's aligned with her soul's essence. And that kind of alignment sends out a frequency only certain souls can hear. To be in her presence is to be invited into a deeper version of yourself, because she does not entertain half-heartedness. Her energy calls forth the real in others, And if you're not ready, she will not shrink to meet you where you are. She will simply continue walking in the direction of her own becoming. This kind of woman is not hardened by life. She is softened by truth. She has cried silent tears in the dark, looked in the mirror with swollen eyes, and chosen to stay instead of run. That is where her strength is forged, not in avoidance, but in confrontation with the parts of herself the world told her to hide. She no longer seeks external validation because her worth no longer lives outside her. She is no longer a product of someone else's fantasy. She is her own soul's embodiment. And in a world that glorifies image and applause, this kind of depth is rare, almost mythical. But for the man who has lived enough to recognize soul over ego, substance over show, and alignment over approval, this woman is not just desirable, she is unforgettable. Her presence is not an invitation to possess, but a mirror that challenges you to meet yourself. Because the truth is, the most attractive women are not chasing attention, they're simply living in their truth. And truth, when lived boldly, becomes the most powerful seduction of all. If you're still here and this message resonates with you, comment, "I radiate from within," below. Your voice helps us grow and reach more souls. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss content that awakens your inner power. 7. Choosing yourself changes everything. When a woman reaches that sacred turning point where she no longer waits for permission to exist fully, where she stops performing for acceptance and instead dares to belong to herself, everything in her life begins to change. Her energy shifts. Her presence deepens. The friendships that once fed off her compliance begin to fall away, not in anger, but through quiet recognition that she no longer fits into places built on pretending. Her worldview, once constructed on inherited beliefs and survival strategies, collapses like an old house whose foundation was never hers. And in the aftermath of that collapse, she begins to magnetize experiences, people, and opportunities that resonate with her soul rather than her wounds. As Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." By choosing herself, she is no longer at the mercy of fate, she becomes the author of her becoming. This transformation isn't loud, it's sacred. As she embraces her truth, she awakens the archetypes within her that were once exiled, each a vital expression of her feminine psyche. The lover returns first, reminding her that sensuality is not performance, but presence, that her body is not an object, but a sanctuary. The mother emerges next, not just as caretaker of others, but as guardian of her own heart, her own needs, her own inner child. The magician follows, whispering ancient truths about energy, intention, and transformation, showing her that alchemy begins in the unseen. And the maiden, often forgotten in a world that punishes innocence, reawakens with wonder, reminding her how to dream again without shame. These aren't just psychological roles. They are living frequencies within the soul, and Carl Jung devoted his life to studying them because he understood the spiritual architecture of the human psyche. As these archetypes integrate, she becomes fluid, untamed, and mysteriously whole. She no longer breaks herself into pieces to be understood. She no longer translates herself for those who refuse to listen. Instead, her wholeness becomes a mirror, and others either rise to meet it or quietly step away. She no longer pleads for love because she is love. She no longer performs for belonging, because her very being is rooted in divine belonging. Her presence alone begins to heal spaces, heal dynamics, heal generational cycles. Without preaching, without fixing, without sacrificing herself, she becomes a source of restoration for everyone around her. As Jung believed, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. And in that awakening, she breaks the chain. She heals her bloodline. She alters the inheritance passed down through silence, pain, and shame. The moment a woman chooses herself, she doesn't just rewrite her story, she reclaims her soul. And in doing so, she becomes more than healed. She becomes a healer, not through effort, but through essence. Her light doesn't ask for attention. It transforms the room. Her boundaries don't need explanation. They are felt in her absence. Her life becomes a sacred offering to the world, and those who encounter her often don't know what draws them in, only that something about her feels like truth, like home, like the echo of something they forgot they were searching for. To affirm your commitment to self-love and inner wholeness, declare it in the comments below. I choose myself. Let your words be a mirror for others to rise. And if this message resonates, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of wisdom on your healing journey. Thank you for joining us today on Spiritual Wisdom. As we explored the hidden traits of the woman everyone desires through the lens of Carl Jung, remember, true magnetism isn't about appearance, but about depth, self-awareness, and soulful presence. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself like this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more insights that awaken your spirit. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos. Until next time, stay grounded, stay radiant, and never stop becoming who you truly are. 10 clear signs you are a spiritual healer. He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens. Carl Jung. Welcome back to Spiritual Wisdom, where we explore the deeper truths of your soul's journey. In today's video, 10 clear signs you are a spiritual healer. We're diving into the powerful signs that reveal your sacred gift to help others heal, awaken, and transform. These insights aren't just for reflection. They're a call to embody your purpose in everyday life. As you watch, think about how these signs show up in your own journey. Are you already living as a healer, or are you just beginning to awaken to that role? Comment below which sign resonated with you most. Your story could inspire someone else's breakthrough. Let's begin this sacred exploration together. 1. You're sensitive to crowds and energies. Spiritual healers are like energetic sponges, absorbing the emotions, pain, and vibrations of everyone around them. This isn't something they choose to do. It's how they're wired. In crowded or chaotic places, they don't just notice the atmosphere, they feel it in their bodies. A healer can walk into a busy room and instantly pick up on tension, sadness, or even unspoken anger, and it can leave them feeling drained without knowing why. This sensitivity often leads to mental fog, emotional exhaustion, or even physical symptoms like headaches or nausea. It's not weakness, it's intuitive intelligence operating on a higher level. Because of this, solitude becomes essential, not optional, necessary. Quiet spaces aren't just preferences, they're energetic sanctuaries. A healer finds comfort in silence, soft nature sounds, or a calm room where their nervous system can breathe again. These environments allow them to release the emotional static they've picked up and return to their own natural frequency. Without this sacred alone time, they risk becoming overwhelmed, anxious, and energetically disoriented. That's why many healers are drawn to meditation, walks in nature, or even long moments of stillness, not as escape, but as medicine for the soul. Yet for much of their lives, healers are misunderstood. They're often told they're too sensitive, too quiet, or too emotional. But this sensitivity is not a flaw, it's a gift. It allows them to tune into suffering others can't even see. They feel what's unspoken. They carry unexpressed grief. Their presence alone often soothes those who are hurting. But in order to continue giving, they must first protect their own light. Boundaries, energetic hygiene, and time alone are not selfish acts. They are survival skills. What most people call overwhelming in healers is actually deep spiritual perception. The body reacts to what the mind doesn't consciously understand. That fatigue after a social gathering, that sudden sadness you couldn't explain, that emotional heaviness that came out of nowhere. It's your soul telling you it's been absorbing too much. Listening to those signals is how you preserve your power. Recharging isn't laziness, it's preparation. A healer's energy is their most powerful tool, and protecting it is part of their sacred duty. If this message resonates with your soul, repeat after me. I honor my sensitivity. I protect my energy. I trust this message is meant for me today. Type it in the comments to affirm your truth and let your healing journey be witnessed. 2. You've been through deep pain or trauma. Many spiritual healers have one thing in common. They've endured intense emotional or physical suffering that most people will never fully understand. Whether it was childhood abuse, abandonment, loss, betrayal, serious illness, or even near-death experiences, these wounds didn't happen by accident. They were part of your soul's deeper preparation, your training ground for the sacred role you were always meant to play. You weren't just surviving trauma. You were being initiated into the kind of wisdom that cannot be taught, only lived. The pain didn't weaken you. It awakened you. Each moment of heartbreak was sharpening your sensitivity. Each storm you endured was cracking open your compassion. These hardships planted seeds of deep empathy and emotional intelligence, the very qualities a true healer must carry. Unlike others, you don't just understand pain, you feel it in others. You know the language of suffering, even in silence. And that's why people instinctively feel safe around you. They sense that you get them, even when they don't have the words. Spiritual healing isn't about having a perfect life or being untouched by difficulty. It's about what you do with the darkness you've known. When others collapse under the weight of emotional pain, you transmute it. You transform it into light, insight, and peace. This is not a talent, it's a soul calling. You don't just carry wounds, you carry medicine. You don't need to fix others. Your energy itself is a healing presence because you've already walked the path from brokenness to breakthrough. Most people run from pain, but you've learned to sit with it. You've made peace with your own shadows and now guide others through theirs. You don't force healing, you hold space for it. You don't lecture, you listen. That's the mark of a true spiritual healer. The ability to stay soft in a world that hardened you. To remain kind when cruelty tried to turn you cold. To rise again and again from ashes that once looked like the end, but were really the beginning. This isn't a weakness, It's the highest form of strength. You've become a channel for grace because you allowed your own story to become a light for others. The very things you thought would break you are now the reasons you can heal. Your scars have turned into symbols of sacred power. Your survival is no longer just survival, it's purpose. And that purpose is what makes you different. It's what draws others in. Your life has become living proof that healing is possible. That's why, even without trying, you bring comfort. Without speaking, you offer calm. You don't need a title or credentials. Your soul already knows what it came here to do. And everything you've been through has prepared you for it. Comment below. My pain has a purpose. If you're ready to turn your past wounds into wisdom and step fully into your healing power. Your story can inspire others. Let's grow through what we've been through together. 3. You've experienced a dark night of the soul. You've gone through what felt like the collapse of your world, a deep inner crisis that left you questioning everything. It wasn't just sadness. It was a soul-level unraveling. You felt disconnected from life, adrift in meaninglessness, maybe even angry at the universe. But somewhere in that darkness, a shift happened. You began to sense things more deeply, feel emotions more intensely, and connect with energy in ways you never did before. This wasn't just suffering, it was awakening. And that experience, though painful, unlocked something sacred within you, the gift of being a spiritual healer. Many who are destined to heal others walk through the fire first. This path echoes the ancient shamanic archetype. In indigenous traditions, the shaman is not chosen for their strength or perfection, but for their wounds. Illness, death, despair. These experiences become the gateway. Through crisis, the shaman is brought to the edge of the known world, stripped of identity, and reborn with the power to guide others. This isn't just mythology. It mirrors what you've lived. Your trauma opened doors to dimensions unseen, to a deeper awareness of spirit, energy, and purpose. In today's society, these initiations are rarely recognized for what they are. You may have been told you were depressed, burned out, or mentally fragile. But what if your breakdown was actually your soul cracking open to let the light in? What if what looked like falling apart was actually falling into alignment with your true calling? Many spiritual healers don't choose their path. The path chooses them through trials that refine their empathy, deepen their compassion, and awaken their inner knowing. Take the story of Anna, a young woman who spent years working in a hospital. After the loss of her child, she fell into profound grief. She withdrew from life, questioning everything she once believed. But in her silence, something stirred. She began to explore meditation, energy work, and holistic healing. Her hands, once trained in clinical tasks, now moved with intuition. Her words became soft medicine. Her pain became her power. Through her own healing, she unlocked a gift she never expected: the ability to bring others peace. When you've walked through your own darkness, you no longer fear the shadows in others. You hold space. You listen without needing to fix. You radiate safety. You recognize pain in someone's eyes because you've seen it in your own. This is what makes you a healer. Not a title, not a certification, but a lived truth etched into your soul. You know how to walk others through their storms because you've survived your own. This is why your trauma matters. It wasn't random. It was a sacred activation. It carved space inside you for more light, more love, more wisdom. Your deepest wound became a doorway, and you chose to step through it. That's the mark of a spiritual healer. You are not just surviving. You are transmitting healing through your presence, your story, and your silent strength. If you've faced your darkest night and feel the light returning, it's not by accident. Comment below. I rise with purpose to affirm your awakening and inspire others on their healing journey. 4. Deep connection with nature. Those who carry the gift of spiritual healing often feel most alive and whole when surrounded by nature. It's not a coincidence, it's a sacred bond. The forest is not just a collection of trees, it becomes a living temple. The ocean doesn't just sparkle, it speaks. You find peace in the rustle of leaves, clarity in the crash of waves, and restoration in the quiet stillness of the mountains. Nature is more than a backdrop to your life. It is the pulse of your soul. You don't simply admire its beauty. You feel its energy, its wisdom, its silent, grounding presence. There's a subtle electricity in the air before a storm that wakes something ancient inside you. There's a message in the sunrise, a rhythm in the wind, and healing in the soil beneath your feet. This connection is so intimate that even your dreams are drawn to it, visions of remote places, serene and untouched, where you live in harmony with the elements. You long for these spaces not to escape, but to return to the simplicity, the quiet power, the truth of who you are when the world is still. In these natural places, you aren't just recharging, you're remembering. You're returning to the frequency of the earth, where your energy aligns effortlessly. Crowded places may feel heavy. City lights may leave you feeling overstimulated or emotionally distant. That's because your soul was never meant to be boxed in. It was born to breathe with the trees and dance with the stars. You are attuned to something ancient and real, and your body responds. You crave sunlight, not just for warmth, but for nourishment. You walk barefoot, not just for comfort, but to ground your energy back into the planet. You might be drawn to herbal remedies, to rivers and moonlight, to the scent of rain, not out of preference, but out of spiritual memory. These aren't hobbies, they're signals, markers of a path you've walked before. This deep connection to nature isn't a coincidence, it's confirmation. Confirmation that your spirit carries the vibration of healing. And nature is the tuning fork that keeps you aligned. In your presence, others begin to feel calmer, clearer, even if they can't explain why. That's the power of someone who is synced with the earth, a natural healer whose energy brings balance without saying a word. If this message has touched your soul, leave a comment of alignment. I feel the healing power of nature flowing through me. I am one with the earth, and peace surrounds me. 5. Your presence lifts others up. Even without saying a word, your presence brings peace to others. You walk into a space, and suddenly, people feel a little calmer, a little lighter. It's not something you try to do, it simply happens. You radiate an energy that shifts the atmosphere, making others feel safe, supported, and seen. This isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about the silent power you carry, the kind that reaches people on a soul level. People may not always be able to explain it, but they are drawn to you. They confide in you. They feel lighter after spending time near you. And often, they leave your presence without the emotional heaviness they came with. It's as if your energy helps them breathe easier, even if you don't say a single word. You're not necessarily giving advice or solutions, you're simply being, and your being is healing. This is the quiet essence of a true spiritual healer. Your ability to soothe others likely stems from your own personal journey. You've faced hardships. You've walked through emotional fire and emerged with compassion as your language. And now, without effort, that compassion extends to others. You hold space for people in a way that allows them to be vulnerable, to release pain, to feel understood without needing to explain themselves. You don't push them to heal. You create an energetic environment where healing naturally unfolds. It's not uncommon for people like you to be mistaken as merely good listeners or easy to talk to. But it goes deeper. Your energy is a sanctuary. Being around you feels like coming home warm, accepting, and peaceful. The emotional clarity others gain isn't from your words, it's from your presence. You absorb what's heavy and radiate what's light. And often, you do it without even realizing it. There's a reason the soul chooses to express healing not just through action, but through presence. A spiritual healer doesn't need a stage. They just need to exist fully and authentically. As you move through the world with this gentle strength, remember that you're playing a vital role. Your presence uplifts not because it's loud, but because it's real. And in a world so often full of noise, your quiet energy speaks volumes. If your presence brings peace to others, it's a sign of your inner light. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights on how your quiet energy can be a powerful force for healing in this world. 6. Extreme emotional sensitivity, empathic abilities. One of the clearest signs you are a spiritual healer lies in your profound emotional sensitivity. You don't just notice someone is upset, you feel it in your own body before they say a word. When someone walks into the room with heavy energy, it hits you like a wave. When joy is present, you absorb it like sunlight. You are an emotional antenna, constantly receiving the signals others don't even know they're broadcasting. This ability to feel so deeply isn't just random, it's sacred. Often labeled as an empath, you carry an innate gift, the power to understand, soothe, and heal through pure presence. People gravitate toward you, drawn not by what you say, but by what they feel around you. Safe, accepted, understood. It's not uncommon for strangers to tell you their life stories, or for friends to say, "I don't know why I'm telling you this, but..." What others see as being too sensitive is actually your strongest healing tool. Your emotions are not a weakness. They are a diagnostic device, letting you sense where pain resides, even if it's hidden behind smiles. It allows you to bring warmth into cold spaces, to comfort someone who hasn't yet found the words for what they're feeling. Sometimes, healing happens not through advice, but through the silent presence of someone who truly sees you. But being this open comes with its own challenges. Crowds can feel overwhelming. Conflict feels like thunder in your chest. Even watching the news can drain your energy. You've likely had moments where you questioned yourself, wondering why you feel everything so intensely. But this is not a flaw. It's a compass. It's guiding you toward who needs your light the most. Take the story of a young woman named Alina. She worked at a busy cafe, and though her job was to serve coffee, her deeper role was unspoken. One day, a customer who looked fine on the outside placed his order. But Alina sensed something, a quiet despair behind his polite smile. As she handed him his cup, she simply said, "Whatever it is, it will pass." The man froze. Tears welled in his eyes. Later, he returned to tell her that her words kept him from making a devastating decision that night. She didn't do anything dramatic. she just felt and let her empathy speak. This is the quiet power of the spiritual healer. Your gift isn't loud or flashy. It's subtle, invisible to the eye, but deeply felt by the heart. And while the world may tell you to toughen up, your task is different. It's to remain soft in a world that has forgotten the strength of tenderness. Your emotional sensitivity is your compass, your radar, your instrument of light. As you continue your path, learn to honor it, protect it, and use it with wisdom. Because when you do, you don't just witness healing, you become it. If this message resonated with your heart, leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss powerful insights like this. Your sensitivity is a sacred gift, not a weakness. Comment below. My sensitivity is my superpower. Let the world know you embrace your empathic nature with pride. 7. Deep compassion and the urge to help others. You feel it in your chest, the sharp ache when someone else is hurting, even if they never say a word. Their pain becomes your pain. You don't just sympathize, you internalize. This is not weakness. It's the unmistakable signature of a spiritual healer. You were born with a heart that refuses to look away, a soul that cannot stay still in the face of suffering. The need to help others isn't a choice. It's a calling etched into your very being. But this gift, as sacred as it is, demands wisdom. Without it, your compassion can become a trap. You may begin to believe that love means sacrificing your well-being. You might start bending over backwards for others, losing yourself in the process. This is how natural-born healers can fall into patterns of people-pleasing and emotional codependency. You give so much of your energy away that you're left depleted, quietly breaking under the weight of others' wounds. Still, there's a way to serve without surrendering yourself. Take Jessica, for instance, a school counselor with an instinct to care for every troubled student. She once met Mia, a girl who never spoke, never smiled. Instead of trying to fix her, Jessica simply sat beside her each day during lunch. No pressure, no expectations, just presence. Weeks passed. Then one day, Mia whispered, "I feel safe with you." That moment didn't require grand gestures. It was the silent power of grounded compassion. Jessica's ability to hold space, not just offer solutions, became the healing force Mia needed. This is the quiet mastery of a spiritual healer. It's not about rescuing people or absorbing their pain. It's about radiating peace, being a mirror of safety, and understanding that sometimes the most powerful healing comes from simply being there. True healers know when to pour in and when to pull back. They learn to protect their light while still offering warmth. They understand that boundaries are not walls. They're sacred containers that keep their energy clean, focused, and effective. As Ram Dass said, you can do it like it's a great weight on you, or you can do it like it's part of the dance. To heal wisely is to embrace the dance, to move with grace between caring deeply and standing firmly. To realize that you are not here to carry everyone's burdens, but to remind them that they can carry their own. So if your heart breaks open for the hurting, if your instinct is to reach out, to soothe, to restore, then yes, you are a spiritual healer. But never forget, healing flows from overflow, not emptiness. Your compassion is your power, and your boundaries are what make it sustainable. If this message speaks to your soul, take a deep breath and repeat after me. I am a vessel of compassion, guided by wisdom and protected by healthy boundaries. 8. Vivid and spiritually significant dreams. Vivid dreams that carry spiritual weight are often not just the mind wandering, they're portals. People who are natural spiritual healers tend to be strong dreamers, not because they sleep deeper than others, but because their souls remain awake and alert even in the unconscious state. These dreams are more than just images, they're experiences. During the night, many healers visit the astral plane, a dimension beyond the physical where time bends and the soul can roam freely. In these spaces, they meet spiritual beings, ancestors, or guides who pass on subtle but powerful messages. These encounters don't just feel real, they leave emotional imprints and deep clarity, often offering direction or answers that the waking mind had been seeking. Such dreams often contain messages from the higher self, signs from the universe, or glimpses into the future. Sometimes, you may find yourself dreaming about places you've never visited, but that feel hauntingly familiar, or interacting with beings who speak in symbols rather than words. The body sleeps, but the healer's energy is still in motion, processing, sensing, and absorbing. Many of these dreams come right before or after major shifts, healing crises, awakenings, or transformations because they're meant to prepare, warn, or empower. One may wake up with a strong sense that something needs to be done or changed, without being able to logically explain why. That is spiritual intelligence in motion. When you carry healing energy, you also carry a frequency that aligns with the subtle realms. This means your spirit becomes like a radio receiver, tuned in to higher wavelengths. That's why these dream experiences feel different from regular dreams. They don't vanish upon waking. Instead, they linger, pull at your attention, and reveal new layers of meaning as the days go by. Some even return in patterns or cycles, as if spirit is asking you to pay attention to a lesson you've missed. If your dreams bring healing to your emotions, offer insights you couldn't possibly know, or simply feel like they're more than dreams they probably are. For spiritual healers, these nighttime journeys serve as training grounds. You may be taught how to move energy, how to forgive and release pain, or how to prepare for the next stage of your soul's purpose. Even if the images are symbolic, the healing is real. In fact, many spiritual healers experience physical or emotional shifts after such dreams, waking up lighter, crying without explanation, or feeling drained after a battle that only happened in the astral world. It's because the healing work continues, even while the body rests. When dreams become bridges between dimensions, when sleep becomes a sacred classroom, and when messages flow through images rather than words, this is a sign you are deeply connected to the spiritual world. It is also one of the clearest signs that you are a spiritual healer, even if you haven't yet fully stepped into that role. Have your dreams ever felt more like messages than mere sleep stories? If you've received spiritual insights or powerful visions in your dreams, share your experience in the comments below so others can be inspired. If you haven't explored this realm yet, comment, "I'm ready to receive," and open your heart to divine guidance tonight. 9. People open up to you instantly. People seem to open up to you without hesitation. Within minutes of meeting, strangers begin sharing their deepest fears, heartbreaks, and life stories. They don't know why, but you do. It's your energy. You carry a calm, healing presence that feels like sanctuary to those who are hurting. It's not what you say, it's what you are. You are safe. You are grounding. You are light. This is not random. It's a sign that you are a spiritual healer. People sense that you won't judge them. You listen with your whole being, not just your ears. Your silence is comforting, your gaze is kind, and your spirit feels like home. Like wounded birds finding shelter in a tree during a storm, broken souls come to rest in your energy. They feel seen without having to explain. They feel heard even before they speak. This is your gift and also your challenge. Because when you carry such a strong healing vibration, people will come to you over and over again. They may not always give back what you offer. Their pain might become your burden if you don't learn to protect your energy. As much as you want to help everyone, you must remember this truth. You can be compassionate without being consumed. You can be open without being emptied. You are not here to save everyone. You are here to remind people they can save themselves. Your path as a healer is not just about comforting others. It's about learning balance. Spiritual healing begins with self-awareness. You must learn to ground your energy, shield your spirit, and release what isn't yours. Breathwork, visualization, prayer, silence, these are your tools. Not just to serve others, but to sustain yourself. Because if you burn out, your light dims, and others need that light more than you know. This ability to attract openness from others is a sacred responsibility. And when you understand how to carry it wisely, you stop absorbing pain and start transforming it. You become a mirror, reflecting strength back to the wounded. You remind them of their power, not by fixing them, but by being fully yourself. That's what makes your presence healing. That's what makes you a true spiritual healer. To affirm your role as a safe space for others, declare your intention to protect your energy while offering light. Comment below. I hold space with grace to honor your gift and inspire others to do the same. 10. Need for solitude to recharge. Being around others constantly drains you not because you don't care, but because you care deeply. As a spiritual healer, you are highly empathic, absorbing not only words, but unspoken emotions, subtle energy shifts, and silent wounds that others may not even realize they carry. This intense sensitivity makes solitude not a luxury, but a lifeline. When you're alone, you're not escaping the world. You're returning to yourself, finding balance after being stretched by the energetic weight of others. Solitude becomes your sacred space to reflect, to reset, and to release everything that is not yours. It is here, in the quiet, that your soul breathes. Without the background noise of others' emotions, you can finally hear your own thoughts. Reconnect with your inner guidance and remember why you are here. This is not isolation. It is alignment. It is not loneliness. It is spiritual clarity. In those moments of stillness, you feel God closer, your energy clears, and your mission as a healer becomes more focused. Empaths and spiritual healers often operate like energetic sponges, soaking in the moods and vibrations of everyone around them. Left unchecked, this constant exchange can lead to fatigue, emotional confusion, or burnout. That's why time alone is essential. It is how you cleanse, how you recharge, and how you protect your sacred frequency. In solitude, you create energetic boundaries that allow you to serve without losing yourself in the process. This is the wisdom of self-preservation, not selfishness. Many people might not understand your need for space. They may label you quiet, distant, or even cold. But deep down, you know that this space is where your power is reborn. It's where you recalibrate your energy so you can return to the world not just present, but empowered. You are not meant to carry everyone's weight endlessly. You are meant to guide, not absorb. Solitude helps you discern that fine line. The more you honor your need to retreat, the stronger your intuition becomes. Divine guidance flows more clearly when you're not distracted by external noise. Your energy field strengthens, your heart stays soft, and your purpose becomes unshakable. In solitude, you are not alone. You are surrounded by peace, truth, and the sacred frequency of your soul. That's why solitude is not only your refuge, it's your resurrection. And remember, these signs are not just traits. They are sacred clues pointing you toward your higher calling. If you've recognized yourself in these messages, it's not by chance. You are here for a reason. The world needs your healing light now more than ever. If this video resonated with your soul, don't keep it to yourself like it. Share it with someone who may need this message today, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more powerful insights. And don't forget to tap the notification bell so you never miss our next awakening video. Your journey as a spiritual healer is just beginning, and we're honored to walk this path with you. Until next time, stay grounded, stay open, and stay aligned with your inner truth.